What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Blackview and the new DR900X Plus dash cam. You know, you should never compromise when it comes to protecting your car. You got to get the Blackview DR900X Plus Series dash cam. It's got a 4K ultra high resolution front camera and it will capture every detail around you, because 4K in a dash cam, it's not a gimmick. It's a game changer, right? You want to be able to zoom in on that shot, read that license plate, get that person's face, get those details, right? It's got the ultra-high resolution front camera and a Sony Starvis sensor in the rear camera. You can be sure you are not going to miss a thing. As a screenless compact camera that hides behind your rear view mirror, the Blackview is managed from the Blackview mobile app. With Blackview seamless pairing, connecting with the Blackview app is a breeze. No need to enter pesky passwords. Just wave your hand near the camera to confirm it's you, and the app will let you browse the recorded videos, change settings, or connect your dash cam to the cloud effortlessly. When you're away from your car, you've got built-in voltage monitoring, so you can leave your car protected by Blackview's parking mode without fear of draining your car's battery. And thanks to the optional LTE connectivity module, the Blackview DR900X Plus Series dashcam keeps you always connected to your car from anywhere. This means you can receive impact notifications on your phone, check on your car with remote live view, and rest easy knowing that the live event upload saves impact footage in real time to the cloud, including the all-important 5-second pre-impact buffer. You can use the mobile hotspot function to turn your LTE connected dashcam into a Wi-Fi hotspot for up to 5 devices. The DR900X Plus series is available now in 4 versions, with the front camera only, paired with a rear camera, an infrared interior camera, or an AI-powered driver monitoring camera. So go to blackview.com/TST, blackvue.com/TST, and use promo code TIRE to get 10% off any Blackview dashcam with free shipping for orders over $200. blackvue.com/TST, promo code TIRE to get 10% off any Blackview dashcam with free shipping for orders over $200. Also brought to you today by Berryman. Berryman's B12 Chem Tool carburetor fuel system and injector cleaner is what I am using at Westside Collector Car Storage. We store cars for long periods of time. They sit, and over time that gas can go bad. And even though we run them to keep the gas moving through the fuel system, you can still have gum, varnish, other fuel residues from the fuel system, tank, lines, injectors, valves, rings, and pistons, etc. Berryman's high energy solvent technology helps deal with all of that. Regular use ensures higher compression, fewer repairs, lower operating costs, and increased spark plug and injector life. It's available in both consumer and commercial grade. It's catalytic converter and oxygen sensor safe, and it helps keep your whole system clean and stabilized, especially if, like I'm doing, you're storing cars for long periods of time. You don't want that fuel going bad. So this stuff would really help you out. Berryman's B12 Chem Tool carburetor fuel system and injector cleaner really helps you keep that fuel and your whole system clean. Berryman products are all American made since 1918, available at your favorite automotive retailer or auto parts store, or at berrymanproducts.com, BERRYMANPRODUCTS.com, berrymanproducts.com. We're also brought to you today in part by Off the Record, the official ticket partner of the Smoking Tire Podcast. Why need a ticket partner? You never, ever want to just plead guilty to a ticket. Ever. Never, ever, 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 ever. Why? Because it's not about safety, folks. It's about a financial ecosystem that won't just punish you that one time. It'll punish you over and over when it comes to your insurance. There's the ticket itself, there's the court costs, there's the fees, the fines, and your insurance goes up for not months, folks, years. Get that ticket off your record. Keep it off your record with Off the Record by going to offtherecord.com/TST or downloading the app and using code TST10. You will get those tickets fought by professionals. Off the Record's network of qualified attorneys covers 97% of the U.S. population. All you got to do is go to offtherecord.com/TST, put in some basic information about yourself, send over a scan or a photo of the ticket you received. Off the Record handles the rest. And if they don't get those points off your record, you don't pay. It's that easy. I get notes every single week from people who used Off the Record successfully, and you can too. I use them myself. It's super, super easy, and it's worry-free. I love Off the Record. So download that app and have it ready to go. Use code TST10 on the app or offtherecord.com/TST. 10% off all legal services from Off the Record, courtesy of your friends at The Smoking Tire. All right, on this episode of the show, Zach and I sit down after a trip to the desert to visit my broken Ferrari and talk to Donnie about what needs doing. It is a rough day. We revisit the Cyan P1800 because I've got some answers to some of our questions about that car. We talk about a possible speed limiter mandate in England, as well as the idea that BMW is going to start making you subscribe to features like heated seats. No bueno at all. And we take a whole bunch of your questions. We talk about Elon Musk buying Twitter. We talk about what to do in Germany and more on the Smoking Tire Podcast. And then there were balls.
The page of the Bible they don't include.
Right. On the fourth day. That's actually what happened on Sunday. They don't talk about that. They edit it out. They were like, what can we do with this day instead of talking about, the balls?
You mean the planets? No,
they were
no.
like,
the balls.
Day of rest. They were like, dude, say day of rest. They'd be like, they didn't do anything that day. The balls were already there.
Well, they aired them out. And they're like, we can't say that.
Yes.
We have to call it a day of rest.
Yes, it's a day of man-spreading. On the seventh day, they invented the word man-spreading. Does YouTube think we exist?
Yes.
Great.
YouTube sees us.
Fucking great, baby.
AV is good. Thank you, Chesels.
I don't know about you, but today my coffee crash happened at exactly the same time my body remembered that I had a 14-hour workday yesterday. That drive back from the desert was tough. I wasn't like falling asleep,
Oh, yeah.
but it was tough.
Yeah, I bet.
Tough physical drive.
It
Hello,
was.
everybody. Happy afternoon. What fucking day is it? Don't even know. Tuesday. It's Tuesday. What does that mean? It means that Zach and I went to the desert. And if you're going to the desert, it can only mean two things. Your Ferrari is broken and you're going to visit it, or your Ferrari is fixed and you're going to pick it up.
It could also mean your Countach is broken and you're going to visit
In this
it.
case, both.
Right. Those are the two things.
Both. Yeah. Donnie found things. We went to make a little video talking, what's that phrase YouTubers use? Monetizing your misery. That's what it was. Here's how we found out I have to pay Donnie a lot of money, and we found a way to make some of it back.
Turning failure into finance.
Yes. My poor Ferrari. Like, it needed a lot of things. But
It is in... It's
pieces.
not that it's in pieces. It's that it's in one piece because the only piece left is like the shell of the car.
Yeah.
I was not expecting the entire dashboard to be taken out.
Well,
the
you
seats
had
are
to
out.
get that fuse panel out.
Everything in the interior is gone.
It's all taken out.
It's just wires.
Well, but a lot of the things that are missing that not missing, but that weren't there were things that got recovered, like in leather.
Right.
And you're not going to put those back in until you put the other things back in.
No, I know, but before we arrived, and you guys did the video, I didn't know what was wrong with it besides the door. So when I walked up to the interior and it was gone,
yeah,
I was shocked.
Yeah, there was a lot of things. I mean, it spiraled out of control. Not out of control, but you can't have someone like that see something that's fucked and not fix it.
Yeah.
It just does. That's not how it works like that with that kind of car, because you can't like be like, I'll get to that next time. Like you just can't. You have to fucking suck it up and do it.
Right.
And so, yeah, we're gonna have new shocks, bushings, brakes, repowder coated upper control arms and lower control arms, new ball joints, new brake lines, new brake fittings,
Sway bar bushings,
sway
link
bar
bushings, hardware.
Yes, a new steering rack,
Rebuilt brake booster.
rebuilt brake booster, rebuilt master cylinder,
Whole new circuit board, was it?
completely new circuit board, and the circuit board controls everything, including the ECU.
It's crazy.
A newly recovered dashboard, a newly recovered gauge binnacle. The center stack has been recovered in leather, and the gauges were remade. The stereo's being put in. New door cards, new weather stripping, right? And I think that's it. I think that's everything. It's a lot of things, but I think that's everything. Oh, a new handbrake cable.
Oh,
This
yeah.
handbrake cable was stretched out, so a new handbrake cable. Of course, we're using OEM Ferrari parts because why wouldn't you?
Well, I'm sure those are the cheapest ones.
It's just like you just have to do it. Like we got here by someone using the cheapest ones. Like we didn't get like if you just use the right shit, you don't end up where we're at.
Yeah, someone got really creative,
Yeah.
let's say, with the repairs on this car.
He didn't, you know, we forgot to in the video, Donnie forgot to talk about the CV boot that had the wrong CV boot on it. I think
Right. Wasn't it from like a Honda Civic or something like that?
He said it was just it was a whatever generic CV boot instead of the one that was supposed to be there. So, but the important thing is, it's not the important thing, but it's the only thing that lets me sleep at night is when Donnie said that it's not like, we're not doing all that shit specifically because I bought a terrible car. Like that's kind of part of it. Some things were janky because I bought a cheaper car and didn't like have it inspected as thoroughly as I should have, and that is a lesson for sure. But he also said that he had a car with 6,000 miles on it in the shop that someone spent $135,000 on, and he was doing, with the exception of the interior, almost all of the same things.
Well, because bushings break down.
Yeah.
Like rubber can't last 100 years. It's just not going to do it. So
And like everything he's replacing has like rubber seals or rubber bushings or something in it that like they're just old. At this point,
like
they're 30 years old.
The computer chip board is, 50 years old at least. The plastic, whatever they make that out of.
It's 50 years old?
How old is the car?
Car's an 86.
Oh, okay. Well, it's 40, almost 40
35 years old.
Like plastic's going to get pretty brittle. It's
Yeah.
going to get, heat cycled, all these things. Like shit falls apart.
Yeah. So like if you want to own a classic Ferrari, like this is what it is. Not like there's no guarantees that spending more money on a quote better car you wouldn't have to do stuff like this. You still do. Like it's fucking kind of intense. But fortunately, at least someone who gives a shit is like fixing it.
I mean, it'll be
It
done
takes a long time,
perfectly.
but it'll be
It will be
fucking
done perfectly.
Yeah.
Because you're essentially rebuilding all of the suspension, including all the bushing. I mean, that's a lot of work.
The chassis is like on a dolly right now. Like there's no suspension. Like, nothing. And even like, not everybody would take the time to remove the control arms and have those media blasted and powder coated. Like most people wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, they look
They would
nice.
go new shocks and new bushings, but they wouldn't go, let's just take this entire thing apart and have it media blasted.
Dude, what is it? The cadmium?
Yeah, the cadmium plating
on all the hardware is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good shit. Like, and I didn't know, like, I was just driving it. Like, I didn't know how like broken it was. Like, and I was like, oh, this is still pretty nice. So like to actually have it be fixed, it'll probably be fucking awesome. I'll probably be able to like fucking send it into corners and stuff. Like,
I think just any jiggles that existed will be gone.
yeah. That's fucking money.
Yeah, it's cool.
I hope if he's done with it by Pebble Beach, I will drive it up to Pebble Beach, which I should because it rules. I could once again commit to a long road trip with no roof, like I did in SEMA in 2015.
It's bold. Well, I feel like you have better knowledge of sunscreen and hats now.
It wasn't the sunscreen and the hats. It was leaving the car parked for like overnight with no roof.
Oh.
That was the thing, yeah. Yeah.
You should bring the roof.
No, I have to bring.
the
You'd
roof.
have to bring the roof.
It could rain.
Yeah,
It's foggy there.
it definitely could rain.
Yeah.
It sucks to drive with the roof on though. I
know,
hate
but
it.
you're getting new leather door cards and stuff too. Like you don't want.
That's true.
What
I
if a
wouldn't want
squirrel
them.
decides they taste
Imagine
good?
who just fucking got wrecked on the first day. That's how my life goes. Every time, remember I got the Mustang painted, and the day I got it back from paint, I drove it up Angeles Crest, and they had graveled the road.
Oh yeah.
I tried to drive through
And you were doing car to car?
like a mile
Or
of
you just
gravel.
behind somebody?
No, but the tire. No, it was just my own car. The tires were so wide, it graveled itself.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
And just really tested the clear coat on the rear
It
fenders.
it blew it all off on the blower rocker panels.
Oh god.
Yeah, it was fucked. First day, fucked. I was like, oh.
It looked tough though.
Yeah, it did. It looked like it went from SEMA to Magnus Walker in one day.
Yeah.
In one day.
It had attitude.
Dirt don't
It had
slow you
patina
down.
right away.
Instant patina. Yeah. But man, it's tough to look at that. When your Ferrari's taken apart like that, it is tough to look at.
Because it looks sick. Like bad.
Like,
it
literally
looks
not.
ill.
No, yeah.
Yeah, it looks.
Those
also,
words can
yeah.
both be positive.
It looks
but
like
the
it's in the
negative-
infirmary.
Sickly. It looks sickly.
Looks unwell.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we have to remind ourselves that what was once parts, it was a car, and is now parts again, and we'll go
Yeah.
back to being a car.
Parts to car and car to parts.
I remember I was like feeling nervous about working on my car like a couple of years ago, and Sam Smith was like, "Look, man, it's just pieces of machinery that were put together by humans at
Yeah.
one point. Like
Yeah.
you're also a human." I was like, "I'm a dumber," and he's like, "I know, but the thing you're doing is fairly simple." So
Yeah.
it's like
It's not like you're a
come
dumber.
apart.
You're just not trained.
Right. It can come apart. It can go back together.
Yeah.
So you just got to think about that.
Yeah. It will go back together. It's just a sad state of affairs
Yeah.
up there.
The dolly is funny.
And then so there's that. I think some people I posted a bunch of pictures on Instagram today, and one of the pictures was just like a wide of Donnie's shot, and it showed a V8 engine from a 328 on a stand, and I think a few people inferred that was my engine. It's not. My engine is still in the car. The engine is fine. He already did the engine. It's still in the car. It hasn't come out. It's not going out. If you look at the photo, it's like the third photo or something. That photo of the car looks pretty sad. And if you go over to that's a new brake rotor. Those are old shitty bushings. That's my interior. That's not as bad as it looks. And see, there's a V8 engine on a stand right there. That is definitely not my engine. In fact, you can see that engine was on fire. That engine is fucking charred on one half, and then has the fire extinguisher shit fucking melted onto the other half.
Well,
of
it's
it.
heat treated. Now it's heat treated. Right?
Jet
like
coated.
a samurai sword.
It's jet coated.
Yeah, that engine was definitely.
That
on
engine
fire.
was on fire. Yeah, no, my car doesn't look great right now, but it's okay. It'll be fine.
It's gonna be great though. It'll be amazing.
Yeah, it's black. It'll be black forever. It's always going to be a black Ferrari.
Even if it catches on fire
Right.
and burns to the ground,
Still
it
be
will
black.
still be black.
Still be black Ferrari.
That'll be matte black.
Yep. But this is what happens, folks. This is what vintage Ferrari ownership looks like. It's not pretty. Yeah.
I mean,
and by the way, the car's also not fast. In case you're wondering. Like, no, but it's fast, right? Like when it's like, no, it's not. It's not fast. It's 280 horsepower.
So it's Acura NSX.
280 horsepower at 8,500 RPM.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
an Acura NSX
Yeah.
with more rare earth metal. So,
An NSX could cost this much to maintain today.
yeah, if you need
NSXs are not like, they're it's not, for a long time the NSX was, it's just a Honda. Not anymore. NSX parts are NSX parts now. They're not Honda parts.
Is that true
anymore.
of the engine or just things like interior door cards,
not
shit like that?
the pistons. If you like the internals of the engine are standard off the rack shit, but like the internals of my engine aren't fucking super fancy. It's like they're it's little things like the weather stripping that Donnie spent
Right.
10 minutes going, this doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
I have to make it. That's the same as an NSX now. Little things like that, where if they break, little plastic brittle shit, if they break, it's like that's going to be really expensive to fix. There's folks who have high mile NSXs or like, and they talk about what they cost to maintain. They're fucking expensive now. Yeah.
The company's not going to keep producing. If the part doesn't fit anything else anymore, they won't keep making it.
I found the same thing with Corvettes. Corvettes, like, yeah, the engine's like, quote, just a GM, but there's a bunch of shit in Corvettes that are only for Corvettes, and they're not shared with other stuff. And, like, that shit goes wrong, and you pay.
And possibly only for that generation.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 generations if you're lucky.
You know what's fucking cheap for my car? Tires. 16s.
16.
Them shits are cheap. The brake pads, cheap. Brake rotors, cheap. The shocks.
They're like, what are you putting these on, a Corolla?
I mean, brand new shocks. I think was $2,000. That's not so bad for a set of shocks for the conies. For that, that's not so bad. Like certain things are not expensive. But
what has been the most expensive thing that surprised you? You don't even have to say the number if you don't want to. But what's one where you're like, wait, that is the thing that cost this much?
What was it? Donnie he told me, I forget what it was now. I want to say that parking brake cable was like $1,000. And it's like a cable.
Yeah.
It's like an insulated cable.
It's a very simple braided cable.
Yeah, that was expensive. Having those door cards redone was $2,000. That's handwork. That's leather handwork.
Right.
And if you were doing any door cards in handmade leather, it would probably be the same.
Right.
It wasn't more expensive because it was a Ferrari.
The e-brake cable is more surprising because it's a simple thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, what surprised me most is like how quickly the hardware added up. Like those bolts that have fucking stallions on the heads.
Yeah.
They're $18 each. And he, when he went through the bill with me on the phone, he's like, and 16 of these, and 12 of these, and 14 of these, and da-da-da-da-da-da. And they're all from Ferrari. And so it's this. And so, when it's like $800 in nuts and bolts. But that's just like here at Westside Collector Car Storage, our lifts that are, they're sunken on these, these big fucking plates, and there's this rebar that goes through them, and there's these big, heavy-duty nuts that are threaded onto the rebar that holds it all together. And there's 18 nuts on each leg of the lift.
Whoa.
And so there's $75,000 in nuts.
What?
Yeah. Add it up. It's 18 per leg times 4 legs times 18 lifts. So it's 18 squared times 4. And each one of those nuts is this fucking big.
So how much was each nut?
I don't know. Do the math. I don't have the phone. I'll do it. 18 squared times 4. And I remember the bill was $80,000.
That's 1,296.
Okay, so
nuts.
80,000 divided by 1296.
$61 per nut.
That really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Unless
wow.
I typed in.
That doesn't sound right.
What is it? 80,000, yeah. 80,000 divided by 12.
$61 a nut. Seismic shit, dude.
Wow.
They're fucking big. Like, I don't know. It might have been, that might have been for the nuts and like the other hardware. It might have been nuts and bolts or something, but
right.
like.
Going back to the
I don't think it's $61 per nut, but it was an astronaut when they gave me the bill for the nuts and the bolts. You know why? Because they had to make them. It wasn't like you didn't go to Home Depot and buy this shit.
They probably had to make the rebar, right? Thread it.
Yeah, like a company had to make all of that stuff to my spec. They had to tool up for it. There's tolerances. Like they had to do it out of the seismic steel. Like. It might have been that. I don't remember if it was the nuts and the bolts, but like that's how you end up at a place like that is when a company needs to do it just for this one application.
Bet, and I don't know anything about construction, but I would bet that there's companies that make these nuts often, but making the rebar specifically to like how long do you need it threaded for, what size, like that's probably the thing.
I remember it being custom made.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of them. Like it's a lot of the boxes when they came in. I was like, oh my god, where are all these going? And they're like all over the place.
All over the place.
Yeah. So that's with the same thing with the car, just the fucking hardware shit. When he holds up a big hunk of metal and goes, this is $800. You go, well, okay, it's a big fucking hunk of part, whatever it is. But when they show you a box of bolts and they go, this box of bolts is $800. You go, oh, fuck me, really? You know?
Yeah.
Or like replating that stuff, you know, when they're like, it's actually, it's more surprising that like you could spend more money fixing your old parts and like cleaning them up and replating them than like buying new ones. You know, so I don't know.
Well, because also if the bolt has like a bad thread or if it's nicked, then it might not come out as well and be as safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. The cadmium stuff looks cool though.
It does. It's like gold plated.
Yeah,
it looks
gold plated. It's rad.
Yeah.
But like matte gold, not shiny gold for people listening.
Right. Yeah. It's not like gold, like McLaren F1 engine bay.
Right.
That would be like, I think he's ripping you off.
And also, why do you need the undercarriage to like blink this hard?
No. But I was really surprised at how bad my brake rotors were. They were bad. The rear brake rotors were really, really fucked.
Yes.
Because the car got there the reason the car got there in the first place when it did was because my brakes started getting really soft. And I had
they were dished in kind of a unique way. So like you had a new rotor there, we could compare them, because when we first looked at your old ones, they didn't look as bad. Like when I've seen modern rotors that are dished out, you have this really steep lip, like it drops down into like where the rotor surface is and then goes back up again. And yours were kind of like just had these small dents. But then when you saw the new one and how much material is supposed to be there, like I mean, that was like a full millimeter or maybe two that had been removed by brake pads over the years.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah.
Car's got 42,000 miles on it, and they were the original rotors. So it's seen some shit. Yeah, so sad. But like this
cars.
This is what it is,
right?
It wasn't supposed to be a project car. It was supposed to like need a couple things here and there.
I mean, right. What's the difference between a project car and maintaining a car? I mean, is project car where you elect to change parts before it's required, I guess?
Yeah, or you specifically try to save money by buying one that's worse. Like I was talking to Jacob from Straight Pipes, you know, his Fox body he finished, and I was like, have any regrets? And he's like, I should have bought a nicer car. He was like, I bought this like shitty one and had to like unfuck it. Whereas if I had just bought a cleaner one, he's like, to spend another $4,000 or $5,000 on a cleaner one, now after I'm done, it seems like that $4,000 or $5,000 would have saved me 6 or 8 months of headaches unfucking the one that I bought. And I was like, yup. He's like, but then I'd feel bad about cutting up a clean one. I was like, dude, everybody, it doesn't matter who. It doesn't matter you want to restore, drive it, or modify it. You want the clean one, no matter what. Like, fuck what everybody else says. You're not obligated to buy the shitbox one so that you can modify it and make your own life harder in the process, saving a clean one for someone else who might do the same thing.
Right.
Like,
and for every person that would see a modified version of a car and go, "Oh, I can't believe you changed that from what it used to be." If you kept one stock, you'd have as many, if not more, fans going, "What are you going to do to it? You should do this thing."
Yeah.
So it's like those are the two opposing forces.
yeah. So at least Donnie and I are on the same page that me spending more money. I bought a cheap car. This 328 was pretty cheap. It wasn't the cheapest one in America, but it was pretty cheap considering it was triple black, has never been in an accident, and that's true. It has never been in an accident. The body looks great. Body's fine. Nope, nothing wrong with the fucking body. You know, there's no like horrible stories. It's just been massively deferred maintenance. So I got it pretty cheap. I really did, especially in what today's market, as it turns out, would be. So I'm not like deep underwater with this stuff. You know, it might take me up to almost what market price might be, maybe not. But I could have bought a fucking much more expensive car and ended up in the same place, you know, or close to it. There's no guarantees. People spend primo dollars on Bring a Trailer and, you know, all these places only to have to do all this shit immediately anyway.
Yeah.
So Here we are. There's a video. The video will be worth watching because because not enough to hear us talk about it. You got to see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parts. We got shots of the new parts, old parts, the car, all these different things, and then Donnie showed us. Here's all the stuff that he found that was wrong.
Yeah.
And here's what it looks like. And it looks like it was hit by meteors. Yeah,
it doesn't look great. It doesn't look great. So that's a thing. We also I drove the Cyan again yesterday. The last show we talked about the Cyan. We had a couple of criticisms of the car. Overall, overwhelmingly, it's ridiculous, right? But a couple criticisms, and I got a couple of them addressed in my conversations with Hans from Cyan yesterday. Because I'm shooting the car, write a story for Road and Track Print that's coming out next month, the motorsport issue. The steering we talked about, he said can be tailored to the driver. He said this particular car, which is the prototype car, was set up for maximum grip and turn-in sharpness in the corners. And he said because of that, the handling is a little darty on center. That's the alignment settings. He said there's also two options for steering ratios, and this has the sharper of the two, and has two options for E-Pass calibration. And he said that basically if you went the other way, you would end up with a more relaxed highway cruiser.
So is the E-Pass, we had the highest level of assistance or the least that they offered, do you know?
It's not like it's more or less assistance. It's more assistance, but with a sharper ratio.
Got it.
If they relax the ratio, they can also relax the assistance.
Okay. So we have the system that's providing the most assistance but the sharpest ratio.
Yes.
Okay.
But also because I talked about the wheel knot unwinding, that is from the caster, and you could dial that back and have it self-center better.
Right.
So that's all customer choice, but they kind of like had to make a decision, and they were like, look, magazines are testing this thing, let's make it turn in really hard. There's also a little rattle in the shifter bushing, which if you watch our video of it, you can hear it a little bit. He said that because this is the prototype, that's a 3D printed shifter bushing, and the customer cars all have a billet milled one. So that doesn't exist in the customer cars.
Do you know, was the 3D one printed from plastic or metal? Oh, okay.
Yeah, plastic.
So it's probably wearing out and has those little ridges and imperfections.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So that won't be in the customer cars. That only happened because we have the prototype. I think that was...
I think it's cool, man. It's such a good car.
And I had such a great time driving it again. For the photos, I did like 5 hard launch like burnouts in a row. And Hans was like, yeah, no problem. Have at it. Dude, go ahead. No, you're good. And I was just like dumping the clutch from 5,500. And the thing is such a champ. Just lights them up. I mean, just smoke all the way through first.
That's rad.
It was great.
We don't get to do that very often with a car that's that special.
Yeah, and he said Top Gear. He showed me a video for when they filmed it for British Top Gear, and he said that he does a brake stand and then bangs it off the rev limiter for like 12 seconds while doing a brake stand. He was like, they probably could have modulated the throttle a little bit. I mean, you don't need to bounce the rev limiter. It sounded like anti-lag when he was doing it, but like he was like, if it was a little more on the brakes and a little less on the throttle, he probably could have done a longer brake stand. But
was that the Top Gear YouTube video they did?
I guess
okay.
I just watched it on his phone.
Right.
He was standing there.
He
when
was just
they
like,
did
that's where they're hitting the rev limiter.
Yeah, he's like, that sounds like the anti-lag, but this really is the rev limiter. Like, yeah, cool. But it's fucking great, that car.
Yeah.
It's so cool, and people just lose their shit when they see it. It photographs so well. And it's really like, even despite the criticisms we have of it, which are pretty nuanced, it's really nice to drive.
Yeah. And it gives me a little bit more information on why like these continuation cars, let's call them, are like so popular with. I know they're popular with the OEMs because there's a lot of money in them.
Yeah.
But I think there's something really cool if you have this body that we, all love or you like from, the 60s or the 70s, but the cars from back then, like they drove good for cars back then, but if you compare them to a modern something, they might be a little slow, the turning might be slow, whatever, and now you can combine the two great
this has 7 times
things.
the horsepower of the P1800.
Yes, it feels like it. Yeah.
It's so fast. When our video for this car came out on Tuesday or Monday, and the other thing we discussed is that a lot of our commenters, and these are commenters, so who knows what's on the other end of the comments, they don't really understand, not to make the show about the cost of things, but the cost of what goes into a car like this beyond people's time. People were commenting like, "Oh, this would be a great car for $150 grand."
Mm-hmm.
You don't really realize how quickly that money goes in something like this. Like the carbon body by itself is $150 grand. Just the body,
and that's probably to make
it.
So yeah,
forget the tooling. Like
right.
to make one with the existing tools is $150 grand. The Hollinger gearbox is $26,000. The carbon drive shaft is $10 grand. This blue car has $60,000 of paint. That cyan that negative graphic on the side, that's paint.
What?
The yellow stripe and the lettering, that's paint.
Yeah, it's all under clear.
Yeah,
right?
that isn't vinyl. And so now we're talking, and the engine is 30. So now we've got 56 for engine and a gearbox, 66 for a transmission, 150 for a body, so that's 216,
right.
And then 60 of paint. So we're now at 286 with no interior, no wheels or suspension or brakes. You know what I mean?
No fuel system,
and nobody's
no
time.
Nobody's time. Yeah. And I mean the R&D involved in all of this, the testing that has to go into all of it. It takes a lot of time.
It's not to say that there's not a profit built into these cars. Of course they're building them for profit. It's a business. If they have less than a 20% margin in this car, they shouldn't do this. This is hard, but this thing isn't 700 grand because someone was like, let's see how much money we could squeeze out of these idiots. It's not. And also, by the way, you can beat, this thing has 7,700 kilometers on it. You show me a press car with 7,700 kilometers on it that is in as nice shape as this after the kind of abuse this thing has taken.
Yeah, that's true. There are a lot of press cars we've had that have surprising rattles and problems.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's
more
production cars that show more wear and tear than this thing shows with fewer miles on them.
They may attend to this one more than
they might.
A press car, because once a press car leaves the OEM, most of the time it goes to the fleet.
Yeah.
But I think it's a very special thing.
Romped on.
They did a lot of engineering, design work, fabrication. I mean, bonding like the steel frame with the new carbon, making it like a structure. Like there's a lot of like real engineering that went into this. And so my theory, I know I said this to you at breakfast, but like I think people are just grading the car with money. People are looking at it and going, well, I give it a 7. But instead of saying I give it a 7, they're going, here's how much I'd be willing to spend on this. Do they have that money? No, maybe. I don't know. But that's just like, to them, that's how special this is.
Sure. And maybe that's just their thought on the Volvo P1800, as opposed to if that level of money went into a 911 or a Ferrari 308. If they're looking at a Ferrari 308 that has a carbon body and a 458 motor in the back, like, okay,
right.
Now maybe you value it, differently.
Because it's already associated with a premier brand. I mean, Volvo is a luxury brand, but
we get it.
Saying. Yeah.
But it's
that's a good point.
I also think they don't understand what other things cost. 150 grand is like, that's a nice Cayenne. Like, you know what I mean? You're not getting, we think, you might think of a Ferrari 488 as being a $250,000 car. It's really a $450,000 car now.
I mean, in a way, it's also a $500 million car because of the tooling, the development costs. Like, so a Cayenne's 150 grand, but they have to sell how many of them to break even?
Yeah.
So this, if they're making 25, then the price has to be a lot higher.
Yeah, and I think that there's such an enormous discrepancy in between the audience for one of our videos, which is fine, and the actual person who's writing a check for
sure.
something like this.
Yeah.
The person who's writing, I'm not going to say what I saw, but I saw a photo of a customer car in their collection, and this was by far the cheapest car I saw in that garage. That garage was fucking sick. Fucking so sick. Like, that dude's rolling up with a transporter at the Monterey Historics.
Right.
And this is the grocery getter, in that collection. It's a whole other world. But it was nice to have a go again. I got back in it immediately, and I was like, oh, yeah, this thing. This is the fucking tits.
Yeah, it goes well.
And then you know what he told me? Because the seat and harnesses didn't fit me so good. He goes, it's ironic that you actually are spending more time in this car than any other American, because we moved the seat closer and we tightened the harnesses because the Americans are smaller than the European journalists on average.
Oh, interesting.
And yet here you are driving this thing more than anybody, and you don't fucking fit in it.
Wow,
He's like, yeah, we can make anybody fit, obviously.
Of course. For $750,000?
Yeah, they'll make anybody fit.
Yeah, High Tower from Police Academy. Boy, have I just aged myself.
It was so funny.
Yeah.
But man, did I love that thing. It's so fucking great.
Bespoke shit like that is, when the attention is given to the hardware by people that really know what they're doing, it shines.
And it's fast enough. Like, it's really quick. It would lose to a 720 in a drag race, but it's way more fun. Not to crap on modern supercars, because they're fun, but like, this is the jam. Something like this is fucking fire.
It's 400 horsepower plus with 2,100 pounds, 2,180 pounds.
So light.
That's going to be real quick.
Yeah, and when the car's that light, the clutch can be light, the steering can be light, the shifter feel is pretty light. It's fucking so sick. So yeah, and I rode the Triumph 900 Tiger up over the hill, go down a little bit. There it is. I rode it on Sunday. My homie left me this bike. He moved to New Orleans, left me this Triumph Tiger 900, break-in miles, and he said, keep it at the shop. Or he said, may I keep it at the shop? And if I can't pay you, but you can ride it anytime you want. And so I rode it to the valley, and it was lovely. What a nice bike. Heated seat, heated grips, very comfortable, electronically controlled suspension.
It's basically a competitor with like the Multistrada and other adventure bikes, right?
Yeah, it's like this one isn't set up to be super adventure-y. It's got road tires. It's more like a touring bike that looks like an adventure bike.
Oh, okay.
They have one that's got like knobbies and shit on it, and if you actually wanted to go off-road, you would use that one, which has like the off-road ride modes. This has like sport tour, wet.
Okay.
It doesn't have dirt. This one doesn't have a dirt mode, but they sell one with a dirt mode. It's got the triple. I have no idea. Can you look up how much power this makes? Mm-hmm. The Triumph 900 triple. I don't have the first clue how much power it makes.
I set my computer.
Did you just do that?
Yeah.
No. But it's having 3 cylinders, motorcycles with 4 cylinders, they have all the revs and none of the torque, right? And motorcycles with 2 cylinders, they have all the torque and none of the revs. So with 3 cylinders, shocker coming, it splits the difference. So it's got some of the torque down low that you would get with a twin and some of that thumpiness, but then it revs to 10.8. So
good.
It actually, it's got some revs to it.
It makes max power at 8,700. Makes 93 horsepower.
Okay.
And 64 pound-feet of torque.
Okay, so it's in the middle. It's a middle bike. It's enough where it feels pretty quick if you get on the throttle, but it's a relaxed enough engine that you can cruise around and use the torque at the lower end. It's got a nice quick shifter. No need to use the clutch when shifting up or down. So I rode that. I rode that over the valley and back over the hill. And it was like 62 degrees in Malibu yesterday and 102 degrees on the other side of the hill.
Whoa.
So my ride there was like cold and then hot. And then we were filming on the mountain, and it was like in the middle, warm. And then we brought the Volvo down to the Malibu side, and it was cold. And then we went back to the other side, and it was hot. And then I rode the motorcycle home, and it was freezing cold.
Oh my God! Yeah. So many temperature swings.
So many
gives the flu.
So many temperature
menopause.
swings. Yeah.
That's a lot to deal with. They're fun. I feel like all bikes there's like very slow if they have less than 30 horsepower, and
you have
everything
a
feels
monkey.
quick to insane.
Right. No, this is super quick. I mean, by any other standards, it's super quick. But like by motorcycle standards, it's like middle.
What's the fastest bike you've ridden?
Not that fast. The Ducati Multistrada V4S was like 170 something horsepower.
Oh yeah, that was last year.
That thing was fucking
That's a lot.
fast. I mean, and that was an upright bike like this, not a super bike. They offered me the super bike, so I don't want no part of that.
Yeah, but that's like super bike power.
Yeah,
from
it is.
4 years ago or something.
Yeah,
That's a
no, it's
lot.
insane. It was insane power. Yeah, it was so fast. And I think the Harley Pan America was like 140 horsepower also. I think that thing had quite a lot of power. And there was another
150 on the
150 on the Pan America. Yeah, I mean that's a lot of power on a bike.
Stout.
But they got shit that's over 200 now.
I know.
I mean,
It's crazy.
I want no part of that.
Yeah, me neither.
No. What else? You got anything to add for this here show today?
Well, we got the news. We got this.
Oh, right, the BMW
This
thing.
calamity.
Oh, right. Mandatory speed limiters on UK cars beginning in 2022.
Which is, I mean, that's now.
What is the speed limiter? It doesn't say what it is, though, right?
Here we go. Speed limiter.
No, not what. No, I know what a speed limit is, but what will it be set to?
Well, that's been a.
112 miles an hour, this says. Renault Group right down there. Renault Group can, the upcoming cars will 112 miles an hour to increase safety.
What about the Renault Clio? What about all their
Renault
fast
Sport?
Stuff? Yeah, I wonder what they're going to do with those things.
I don't know.
I mean, there are a lot of questions with it. Some people brought up stuff like, is it going to be paired? Is it going to be GPS controlled? So if you're on a road, is it going to go, hey, this road speed limit is 55, you can only go 55 here, or is it going to be 112, miles per hour everywhere? Like that's the limiter everywhere.
Yeah.
And then someone was like, well, because if it's GPS controlled, this person, I don't remember where they live, somewhere in England, and they said, when I go, there's a tunnel I go through, and when I go under the tunnel, my GPS indicates the speed limit of the road above the tunnel, but they have a different speed limit.
Oh, that's
He's like
fucked up.
so the imprecision in the GPS
Right.
could cause a problem, in terms of what the car's speed is going.
I feel like it's going to be just a number. It's just going to be like
Just a hard limit.
115 or something like that. I mean, my question is there really a problem with like cars going 120 plus? Is that a real issue that this is going to solve? Or are there other issues, and this is an issue like the paper straws? Is this the paper straw of speeding, where it's making a big change that affects everybody, but it's not the most effective change that they could make,
And I think it would go back to like, what is their goal? Is their goal safety? And in that case, is reducing people's top speed, making people safer? Again, paper straw. Like, what is the ultimate goal with this? Which I have not read into it.
Like it makes me wonder. Like, do they have in the UK a genuine problem of people doing 120 plus, and crashing at very, very high speeds?
So this isn't so. Going forward, they're going to make warning systems, and the manufacturers have 4 versions that they can use. And then in 2025, they're going to assess which ones people liked, didn't like, and figure out which one they should standardize. So the first one is they can just gently push the driver's foot back.
Oh, so a force feedback throttle.
Sort of like an EQS brake pedal in reverse. Second one is the speed control system will automatically reduce the propulsion power, but you can override it easily by pushing the pedal again.
Oh, that's good to know. That's an easy one. Just straight double tap.
Just go through it.
Double tap to go.
Just power through.
Yeah.
Third is the driver will be sent a flashing visual signal to point out you're speeding. If you continue to drive over the limit, an audio cue will be activated, and if you ignore that also, both the cues will just time out.
That's nice. So they'll annoy you until they go, okay.
They go, I guess you're serious. You're going for
you
it.
really want to go? Yeah.
And then the fourth one, similar to the third, first the driver gets a visual cue. If they ignore that, the pedal will vibrate. If you keep going, they eventually time out.
Those all seem like very weak speed limiters. Those don't seem like limiters at all.
Yeah,
They seem like, are you sure you want to do this notifiers? To which you can say, yup, I do, and then proceed.
Yeah, that's very strange.
My wife's Nissan POW beeps at her at 62 miles an hour.
Really?
Yeah, it's a Japan thing.
Because their speed limit's what, like 55 or 60?
It's 108 kilometers an hour. So like it just beeps at her. Like and if you keep going, it's every time you cross it. So if you go 62, beep beep. Now I keep going to 68 or whatever.
You can't adjust it. You know, some cars you can have a speed
There
warning.
might be a way to get. No, it's not. It's like literally like a box that the government like put in there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I don't know. There might be a way. I got to call Sean. There might be a way to take it out.
Yeah. Just unplug that thing. Take the speaker out.
There's probably a way to do it. I don't know how.
No, yeah, you don't. Sean does.
The van doesn't have it.
Well, the van will never go 62.
It does. The van does 62.
Down hills.
Yeah, well, it helps. So I mean, so there's this, and I think, it's, you know, I don't like the Big Brother aspect of it, but if you're going to address problems of road safety, actually look at what the problem is and take steps to address the actual problem. So I'd like to know if the UK has a problem with people going really, really, really fast. You know, or is the problem, because a speed limit doesn't help. If the problem is that people are going 50 through urban centers and hitting pedestrians, you know, if the problem is fender benders in traffic, if the problem is road rage, if the problem is like people cutting each other off, like speed limiters aren't going to actually fix that. It just makes it look like you're doing something and not actually doing anything.
And I agree. I feel like I've seen more people in LA driving shocking speeds in areas with 35 mile per hour speed limits versus on the highways they're not going 100 miles an hour very often.
Right.
It seems like people are just zipping around town. Granted, we live in a grid, so people mostly drive on these city streets. But like, especially even electric cars. Like we've talked about this before. You drive like a dick.
Yeah.
I see people with electric cars. I feel like driving faster than they would with a gas one because it's just silent. They just hit the like. I want to be there and just.
Well, when you go fast in an electric car, the car doesn't strain. Mm-hmm. There's not these downshifts and like. You can hear when you're like abusing a gas car. You might not care, but you can hear. An electric car, it doesn't do that. It just fucking makes more torque effortlessly.
Right.
So you could drive like a real bag of shit.
Yeah.
I think like when the roads were empty for half of 2020, people took a little advantage and got used to driving faster.
True.
And then those same people, when the roads got crowded again, got angry about it. They can't drive fast anymore, and now they're driving really aggressive. That's just my vibe. This is totally anecdotal. I'd like to see some data if it exists.
I mean, the CHP did say, California Highway Patrol, like they wrote more tickets for people going over 100 miles an hour during like the March 2020 than any month before in like the previous 10 years.
Well, if you've got our LA freeways with nobody on them, I'm sorry, but it's safe to go 100. On an 8-lane freeway with no cars in it, if you're in a Turbo S or a Tesla Plaid or whatever, 100 is the appropriate number. And a lot of these freeways were designed for that. Remember in the 60s, the 50s and 60s, the interstate system, the fucking jet age, the dream of high-speed travel. And then it was the oil crisis that brought the speed limit down to the double nickel. That was to save gas. It wasn't because like they didn't think the cars could handle the roads.
I feel like there are sections of LA freeways that would be okay for 100, but there are sections like on the 405 where there's like those crests.
Oh, yeah.
That's not good. I mean, in a lot of cars, you hit those at 100.
I don't mean everywhere all the time, but
and I mean, like back in the 50s, they probably were like, it's going to be amazing, but they didn't really plan out the radius of some of the corners.
Well, that road was smooth in the 50s. They just haven't maintained it since then.
So there's been more earthquakes since. All right. Yeah. Well, yeah. If this seems like a weird approach to safety.
So that's the UK approach.
Yeah.
Right.
And just real fast, they're adding it to a basket of other safety things like autonomous braking, data loggers, like stuff that is available as either options or already in some cars. And it seems like they're going to try to make more and more of it required.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
I mean, Yeah. I can't believe I like Germany's way. Germany's way is good. The cars are connected, right, to traffic cameras, and the speed limits change, vary on condition, on congestion, on the weather, whether it's day or night, whether there's construction ahead, and you get those notifications sent to your car.
Yeah.
There's no speed limit signs anymore.
It's so cool.
It's not, did you see the sign? It's on your dashboard. It's very civilized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. But you need more driver training for that too.
Oh,
which, would probably be a little more expensive.
That's socialism.
Yes.
Government programs doing
No
things
one's
to
gonna ask me to
improve
learn
safety
something.
are
You can't make me learn nothing.
making you learn things is socialism.
Yes.
And then fucking like 10 people sent us this story about BMW and the subscription for heated seats, microtransactions in your vehicle.
I hate this so much.
I do too.
I'm really angry about it.
It's very dumb.
Thad was trying to do creative math, and he's like, well, what if you do the subscription and it costs like less money because you don't use them every month of the year? I'm like, that's not how that's going to work.
Enabling
That's not
that
how
bullshit.
Yeah.
The idea that a company would spend money to install hardware in a car and then keep you from using that hardware,
Yeah.
rather than just having you pay for the hardware they put in, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And
the
it's the
seat
same
heater's still
thing-
there.
Same thing with a certain
Right, of course.
certain electric car company in which all their cars have the same propulsion system, and you can pay more to unlock the fucking faster one. And they go, people go, isn't it amazing? You can just fucking get an upgrade and your car goes faster. It's like, no. You bought a downgrade beforehand, and they just unlocked the
You bought a hamstring car.
Yes,
yeah. It's got a governor on it.
Yes.
It's got a limiter.
You bought the governor car, and now you're paying to have the governor taken off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the benefit for manufacturers when it comes to electric propulsion. You know,
Yeah.
it's not like, and actually, there are some gas cars, usually with turbos, where like the S version has a tune.
Sure. Carrera,
You know,
Porsche Carrera
stuff like
X.
that. But as you climb, oftentimes it's like, well, now it's got bigger turbos or something else. And there are electric cars with more motors or, a bigger motor or something.
Yeah.
But I feel like there are more models with using the same hardware when it comes to electric cars than gas cars.
Well, they can get away with. I mean,
Right.
they can get away with it, especially if you can position it. If your audience is dumb enough that you can position it as buying an upgrade later, and not, well, we put the better shit in here, but you can't have it.
That'd be so weird. If I bought a P70 something, and then I got an email 2 years after I owned it, and be like, hey, if you want to be a P90
Yeah.
driver, just hit this credit card button.
Yeah.
And we'll just unlock that. I'd be like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I have that.
I had this the whole time.
Is this like the Wizard of Oz? Be like, no. You've had courage the whole time.
What if your car
Lion.
had 250 miles of electric range and you could subscribe to 300 miles of range?
Yeah, see, that's not okay.
Right?
Because what if you
It's
get
fucked up.
stranded because your credit card's not working, and now you can't make it to the charging station? You run out of water in the middle of Nevada, and now you got a lawsuit.
Now, what you gonna do?
You're gonna become dehydrated.
That's like
and die.
that every year, whenever gas prices start to go fluctuate higher, Fox News always does a story on, because they like to shit on California whenever they can. They always do a story on, you won't believe the prices of gas at this gas station. And you and I know exactly which gas. This state is the size of the whole fucking eastern seaboard. And you and I know exactly which gas station they're talking about.
Yep.
They're talking about the fucking Big Sur one. Because Big Sur is 80 miles from a gas station either way, and gas is like $9 a gallon there. And because if you need it, what the fuck you gonna do?
Right.
You are there.
It's always $1.50 more than anywhere else.
It's like $2-3 more than anywhere else. But if you're there, what the fuck you gonna do? You got no choice. You need gas. But it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But the idea of a subscription fee for shit in my car, no. No, I'm
I
not
think it's
having
just
it.
wildly unfair, and
Not having
it's
it.
just pulling more money out of your customer. Your customer already bought the car. They bought the hardware that's in the car, the seat heaters in the car. Like, you buy a house that has an oven, you got to subscribe now to use the oven every month. Like,
Yeah.
no, there's a heating element. It's a switch. I think it's fucked.
It's like isn't there a website that's like thisiswhyihateyou.com or something like that?
Probably, I don't
that's
know,
it. Like,
but
you're not making people like you more by
No,
doing that.
and to be clear, they're rolling it out in South Korea. I think they tried this here 3 years ago with Apple CarPlay.
Yeah.
And the response was negative from the general population.
Terrible.
But they're doing it with CarPlay in South Korea also. So that sucks.
Yeah.
Sorry, South Korea.
Sorry. I like your hot dogs.
I like their food.
I like all their
They have
food.
fun. Some of their music is exciting, and your neighbors are dicks, but that's cool. But yeah, sorry about this.
I can't imagine this flying in America for a fucking second.
No, I don't think they would do it. That's why it's not happening here.
I do not want another fucking subscription for anything. I have enough subscriptions. Doing my taxes every year, I like want to pull my fucking teeth out looking at the dumb subscriptions we have for stuff.
You ever use that app that's like, here are all the monthly things you have, and you're like, oh shit, I have 7 streaming services?
Yeah, I realized I could get rid of a couple of ones I don't need anymore, actually. If you're one of those apps, advertise with us. I will fuck with you. Apps that are like, here's the shit you don't need anymore.
Yeah.
I would definitely fuck with one of those. Yeah. Let's see what the people have to say on the Patreon. Of course, patreon.com/thesmokingtirepodcast. I like this, the top one. The top one is fucking, I think it's shitty right-wingy clickbait. North Carolina bill. Oh, it's not actually the top one.
That wasn't a question. That was just another
Another
topic.
news story?
It was someone trying to get a bill through North Carolina saying, if you're going to have free EV chargers, then we should have free gas stations. And if you're not going to have free gas stations, they need to spend a bunch of money to remove these free EV chargers.
Yeah.
It has not gone through. It was
Someone
proposed
doesn't
by
know
someone.
what Plessy versus Ferguson is. Separate but equal. Right? That's I mean, it's a trolley bill,
Yeah,
right?
it
It's
is.
obviously either you're in incredible bad faith, which they are in North Carolina because it's not a democracy in North Carolina, or you're literally too stupid to understand the point of free EV charging. The point of free EV charging is to convince people to switch to the car thing that doesn't pollute.
Well, I would bet the people that wrote that bill definitely know that that's what it's about. The guy who's proposing it may not know what it's about, but the people that
The
wrote
guy
it
who's
does.
proposing it is probably a fucking lobbyist for a gas company.
I think the legislator proposing it is just like, oh, they gave me some sponsorship dollars and I'm proposing this bill, but someone the lobbyist that wrote it knows.
Yeah.
But it would cost they're going to spend $50,000 to get rid of the free chargers. So like, take the money that the city or whatever already needs to spend on other things. Yeah,
that is dumb as fuck. One of the nicest charging experiences I've ever had was a free public charger in Nevada at a highway rest area. No billing, no problem. Opened my fucking charge door, plugged in the thing, boom, you are charging. And at the advertised speed.
Nice.
It was
Was it
brilliant.
next to one of the big solar panel arrays?
It was near there. Yeah, it wasn't like immediately adjacent, but it was like within 20 miles of that.
Charges in like six seconds.
It wasn't that fast.
Plugged into the
It was a
mainframe?
62, but it fucking went at 62. It performed exactly the thing it advertised to do.
Nice.
Yeah.
I wonder if they have
great.
extra power from those plants.
Probably.
Maybe.
Yeah. Let's see. DK says Lupe Fiasco's new video for the song Autoboto. Is that a Gunther Works? Survey says.
Let's go to the videotape.
Let's go to the videotape. No, it is not. It's a 997 Carrera.2. You can see the LED taillights. You could tell it's a Carrera because you can see it has the side bumper exhaust and not the central exhaust. It then has a GT3 style rear bumper and some kind of wide body thing on it. No es Gunther Works. That is a 997, sir. Yep. Haven't heard the song yet, but it's got 133,000 views on YouTube. Christian says, if you were the Sultan of Brunei, what car would you have a manufacturer make for you? Mine would be a V12 Ferrari sedan. The Sultan of Brunei did actually have them make that.
Really?
Yeah. Sultan of Brunei had a couple wagons based on the 456 GT. If you look up the 456 GT wagon,
I like the
it was
456
concept.
GT.
This was actually a brilliant concept. I thought these cars looked pretty fucking good. Considering how wonky they could have looked, I thought, especially the silver is not my favorite. Look at the dark one. They called it the Venice. 456 GT Venice. That color looks great.
Yeah, that's a pretty good looking car.
It's a good looking car. I think
Wow, they did a good job.
They didn't. They
Yeah.
did, didn't
Here's
they?
the profile.
Yeah, it's neat. I don't think the silver accentuates the black C-pillar as well as the dark color.
Yeah.
Shows it better. But I think that's cool as fuck.
Yeah. That's
right?
pretty rad.
Yeah, I'm super about that. I would have. I liked the Lamborghini sedan. I thought was really cool concept. I would have liked to have a version of that. Let's see, what else would be very cool to have a custom.
I mean, if they could make like the Lusso, but with a manual transmission and rear-wheel drive only, something like shooting brake with
touring car
V12 manual.
Yeah. I'm not
Something
sure
like
I'd
that'd be
want to
cool.
change any body styles, but I might want some cars with a manual that don't come with a manual. Like a manual Aventador SVJ would be the tits.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would be SVJ Roadster manual would be fucking epic.
I'd have someone like Vermont Sports Car build a road car.
Sure.
You know, like
that's like the
like
Pro Drive
WRC
thing.
spec,
Like that's like
right.
the Pro Drive deal.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. That would be very cool.
Ooh, I'd pay Pro Drive to make me the ultimate 2006 STI because
Okay. Hawkeye.
yeah.
Pro Drive Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that would be very cool. I'd like to do I mean, they already have a Ferrari 550 Barchetta, but like, what could like a Ferrari 550 shooting brake? I think someone built that. Didn't that Nils van der Royn guy? I think someone was making this. Yeah. What isn't this that Nils? I'm gonna fuck
Kinda
his
looks like
name
a
up.
rendering, but
This
it still looks
This
good.
one was kind of like they did some like bread vanny shit that I'm not that into. Like I would prefer, like I don't want a bread van. I want just like a more like a more traditional shooting brake. But I think I like that vibe.
Wow, that does not look
Some
good.
of those 60s shooting brakes are not good. The Aston Martin DB6 shooting brake is exceptional. It looks perfect.
That's cool.
Yeah. A little wagon action is always appreciated. Yeah. What else we got here? Alex,
Someone has
hey,
added, do we think people could hack the BMW subscription, heated seat subscription eventually, or find a way?
I don't think you could if the car's a connected car. It's
Yeah.
probably tough to do that. They have those like Carly, I think we did an ad for them
Yep,
once,
we did.
where you can change certain things on your BMW.
Yep.
Like you can change the LED lights, you can change the chimes of stuff. But I think once it starts to be a fully connected car, that may be a problem.
I agree.
Yeah. It's definitely, there will be, if that becomes a standard, the connected car subscription features, then cars that, now it's like, the last manual transmission car, the last car with a key, the last car with this. It's going to be the last non-connected cars are going to be very, very valuable.
Yeah, because you actually control it.
Yeah. Prashant says, what is the most unsafe two-handed activity you've seen someone do while driving stick? I was in Jamaica, in Negril, in college, and we had a van driver take us somewhere. I don't remember where. I was with like 6 of my friends. And this van driver, with one hand, forget two-handed, with one fucking hand, while driving a manual transmission van, crushed up ganja and rolled a spliff with one hand.
That's amazing.
Like, I was so impressed. We paid him to do it again. I was like, I need to see that again, and he fucking did it again. Crushed. He had these calluses on his hand from doing it, and he could break up the ganja using the calluses on his hand, just like this.
Right.
He would crush it up, man, and then he had a filter tip, and he would roll it. His hand was like a rolling machine.
Where would he put the paper? Would he crush it and then like?
He would crush it.
Yeah.
And then he had like a
Like the paper on
little
his lap.
medicine bottle jar, and he crushed it and dumped it in the medicine bottle, put the paper there, dumped it back.
Like a musket.
Yeah.
What?
And then fucking twisted it up and fucking fired it up one-handed.
That's amazing.
It was like fucking. If I could stand in this van, I would stand and clap for you right now. It was amazing, and I did not feel unsafe for 1 second. I was ready to go.
I remember the guy that sold weed at the restaurant I worked at when I was like 20. He looked like Willie Nelson. He was born in the wrong 2 decades. Like this guy, the crime was like, Chris, you should have been born in the 60s. We're sorry. And he rolled a joint in his pocket once while riding on the back of a motorcycle.
In his pocket?
Yeah.
Oh, like in
a pocket with one hand because he was like, you just can't take it out. It's windy.
Yeah.
But he was like, I did that once.
While
that was
on
impressive.
the back of a motorcycle?
Yeah.
That's amazing. That might beat. I'd like to. I mean, I'd love to see a contest of people roll joints while doing other things.
YouTube has that. I think the most dangerous, I saw a person once plucking like their eyebrows in a car, and it's like if you hit, because the visor's down, so they don't know what's happening in front of them. They're just trusting that the cars are not going to stop suddenly in front of them. And if they do stop, you're stabbing your own brain with the tweezers you're using to fix your whisker. So
I've seen makeup for sure. I've seen newspapers open, on steering wheels. I saw one guy that had like an iPad like rubber banded to the fucking steering wheel.
I forgot I was in traffic at a light and a guy pulled up in his convertible I-135i and he had a laptop open and he was typing. I fucking shit you not. I was sober. It was evening time near Koreatown.
And the glow of the screen.
I looked over and I said, dude, are you seriously typing while driving? And his guy was like 52 years old, white dude. He looked at me with such disdain. Like, you don't know the script I'm writing, Junior. And he closed it and then just ripped and tore down the street. Yeah.
In Venice, sitting in traffic on Lincoln Boulevard in Venice, right by my house, I saw someone hit a really big bong in traffic. Like the fact that you had like an 18-inch tube, like ready. And just
was it in her back seat or something like that?
I mean, it was between her legs.
Right, but she like reached back.
I didn't.
Oh my
by the
God.
time I looked over, it was this, and then it was, and just blew out the car. And then I was like, "How do you fucking see this shit?" And then she put it. Yeah. I guess she did. She put it behind the seat.
Unbelievable. Evil Knievel levels of
it was gnarly, so gnarly. Like you're fucking hitting a huge bong in the car.
You have an open container.
I mean, I guess like in fairness, it was traffic. It wasn't like she was doing 80, but like it was ready. Like it was there. Like the bong was in the car with her, unpacked, like ready to go.
I mean, do you think if traffic let up suddenly, she's going to pull over and strap it down? No,
It's got bong water in it.
Dude.
Imagine how little you care about your car. Like, there's levels, right? Like you don't want people eating in your car. Like, I get it. I think it's a little intense, but I get it. Like, you don't want to. But imagine what happens if you spill bong water in your car. Like, ew.
The smell stays forever.
It's never going away. It's like that diff fluid.
Right.
The diff fluid.
Yep.
The diff fluid we spilled in the back of my van. I had to rip out the entire interior.
Old diff fluid. That was really special.
That was horrible. That's the worst smell. Other than the seafood chowder that totaled the Audi S4 at my old shop.
Yeah.
That was hazmat level. Matt Cheseldine. Oh yeah, is not about the subscription BMW seats. Sam England says, I just found out I'll be going to Germany in a couple weeks for work. Never been to Germany before. I'm a Porsche owner and wondering if you have any Porsche-related recommendations for activity. They do not have anything like Pekla in Stuttgart, but the Porsche Experience Center Germany is in Leipzig, and I do recommend going. It's where there's a Porsche museum there. There is the Macan, Cayenne, and Panamera factory is there, and you can get a factory tour. They have a track. It's just like the Porsche Experience Center here. They have a very good restaurant. The Porsche Museum in Stuttgart is very cool.
Yeah.
And then you should just go drive in the mountains. Go outside of town and go up in the mountains. It's a fun place to be into cars. Stuttgart is not particularly pretty, but Munich is really nice. I recommend that. Was there anything else as part of that question, Zach? Scroll back up. My rent to 911, have a go. Yeah, that's it. Do German shit. Try their beer. walk around and look at old things.
Yeah, drive to Italy for dinner.
Exactly. Find a mountain and go up it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go hiking. I don't know. Do that stuff.
What's that castle? Neuschwanstein Castle. That's the one. It's like the castle that the Cinderella Castle was based on.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's like the most picturesque castle. You got to buy tickets in advance, reserve your ticket to go, but it's like a crazy fucking castle south of Munich that you can go see, and that's worth checking out. Yeah, Germany's fun. Michael Crossgrove, how critical is the roll cage in the Cyan? It seems like it would be much more livable without it. That's an interesting question, and I don't necessarily know the answer. Those carbon doors are very light, and I am not sure I'd want to get T-boned without that sidebar there.
I mean, the bar is also pretty low. It doesn't droop down like some race cars do, but it's still a pretty low angle. So I don't know. It depends on which car hits you, how much it would protect you. But I think the bigger question is it a structural component? How stiff is the car without it? You know?
I think it is a structural component.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, I don't think, while there's an argument that for that kind of money they could have integrated the cage a little better, hidden it behind stuff. Like Singers have a roll cage that in them that is integrated, and Gunther's do too. And so maybe they could have done that, so you don't have to climb over the fucking thing to get in the car. It's made of titanium and wrapped in leather, so at least there's that.
That's
it doesn't
cool.
add a lot of weight. But if I was going to get crashed into, I think I'd rather it was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Savage Geese had a terrible EV charging experience. Sorry for those guys. That sucks. Yeah, we've said it over and over. This is a system that needs to be fixed. Chappie enjoyed the Super Cruise discussion. We mentioned it was a cool tech, but what problem did it solve? Did you feel safer, less fatigued, etc.? I'm writing a column for Road and Track this week. I'm actually probably going to write it tomorrow or the next day about this very thing. What problem does it really solve indeed? I mean, I suppose it frees your hands to do something briefly. If you had to get something out of a bag, or if you just wanted to rest your hands for a little while, if you were on a long road trip. Not that driving is so exhausting, but if I drive for 7 or 8 hours in a day, my hands and arms can be a little sore. So it does give you a little bit of a break from that. To stretch your hands out or do something else. I mean, if you were a smoker, I'd rather hit that button and light my cigarette than have to steer with my knees while I was doing that. Like, anything you do in your car now that you steer with your knees while you do something else, you don't have to do that. That's pretty much all it's for. I mean, my concern is that it's a texting enabling device. That's my concern, and that it'll just make people more and more complacent.
Right. Like, there's already behavior that's happening regardless of what car people drive, which is texting, looking at phones. Mm-hmm. So they're like, well, let's build the technology to
enable that. But we can't just come out and say that shit.
To make it safer, or you can't. Yeah.
I don't have an answer exactly, but think about anything you would hold the steering wheel with your knees to do now.
I would also say that, yes, my cynicism makes me think this is to help people text and, continue to be the bad drivers that they are, but it also is probably a legit stepping stone of development towards full autonomy, some safer stuff, et cetera, et cetera. It's just, this is the safest way to test that on a public road without having engineers, at the wheel the whole time. Like, they did that part, so now they have the geofence thing.
Right, yeah, I suppose, the more I use, especially after using Super Cruise, before I used Super Cruise, I was like, oh, man, I don't know about this. And Super Cruise was really good. It was really good when it worked. It was really clear about when it wasn't going to work and why. And, I was sort of like, okay, I actually feel kind of comfortable with this being on the road. Whereas with Autopilot, the very first time I used Autopilot, I was like, you've got to be fucking shitting me that this is just in cars. And the fact that autopilot's not geofenced to the safest possible environment is still like, oof. And the FSD city streets thing is like, that's not safe at all. But it does feel like in certain situations that the Super Cruise and Blue Cruise are pretty safe. You know, you can avert your eyes from the road for a few seconds. You can do something else with your hands, whether it's unscrew the top off your water bottle,
make pasta, something like that.
You know, light your cigarette, fucking unwrap your sandwich. You know, you could do something and the car will hold its course safely, you know, in those types of environments where it is safe to do so. So, and yeah, it's a stepping stone to true autonomy that's done in a more conservative, incremental way. Andrew N. Did we talk about this? We did, right?
We talked
about Ford not allowing customers to buy out the end of their leases of their EVs. We did discuss this,
We
right?
did. Did we discuss the second part?
And the second part says, is leasing a new EV still preferred over purchasing financing if you're unable to buy the vehicle during or at the end of the lease? Well, in my opinion, I would rather offload the risk onto the manufacturer. Like, whether it's reliability, I don't want to own an EV that's out of warranty. You know, I don't know with any kind of certainty what the market is doing in 3 years when my lease is up. And so I'm not an accountant. I'm not a fortune teller. But to me, leasing is preferred on an EV, just to me in my life, because I assume really none of the risk. Here's what I'm getting into, and at the end of it, fucking here you go. Take it back. I'll get something else. As long as you plan, you know, sufficiently for what happens at the end of that lease, if you want another one and you can get it in time and whatever. If your goal is to buy out a lease and flip it for profit at the end, you might be hosed. But neither Ford nor consumers knew that those market conditions would exist. Now,
Right.
Ford says it's to control, to make sure that the vehicles, once they come off lease, are serviced properly and reconditioned properly or whatever. I think the commenter, what was the commenter's name? Sorry. Andrew N. Really thinks, he says he thinks that the move is motivated by the increasing price of battery materials, and they have an opportunity to recycle batteries and materials. I don't think they're going to take apart 3-year-old cars to recycle batteries and materials and scrap the cars. I think that they want to recapture the value of used EV inventory to sell on their lots.
Right.
To people who either don't want to order a new one or whatever. And if the residuals are better than gas-powered cars, then they don't want to let the customers have that profit. They want to recapture that profit. And they may have data that says 90% of people, before the last year or two, you know, 90% of people probably turned in their lease. Very few people would buy out the lease and then go and flip it. Now everyone realized, holy shit, people are Carvana and CarMax are paying all this money for like used cars. Like, you should just buy out your lease and then fucking turn around. It's not even like they're buying it out and then marketing it on Auto Trader or whatever. They're literally buying out the lease, driving up the road to CarMax and pocketing $5,000 to $10,000. So Ford is probably just going, why are we letting them do that?
Yeah.
when we could do that and sell them on our lot
Right.
used.
Yeah, you can just make it a CPO.
Which, you know, it sucks. It sucks for the consumer who has taken advantage of that system that is designed to take advantage of the consumer. You know what I mean? When a system that's designed to take advantage of the consumer ends up allowing the consumer to take advantage of the system will adapt.
Yeah, very, very true.
That's what's happened here. Yeah. Christian Pelfrey. Elon Musk is not buying Twitter. It looks like this venture was a quick way to sell a bunch of stock at peak value. Yes, it was. That is because if there is nothing you can trust Elon Musk to do except pump and dump stocks. He is an expert at pumping and dumping stocks. He knows way more about pumping and dumping stocks than he does about autonomous cars, subways, tunnels, or really a lot of anything. Elon's risks keep becoming bolder and gaining more negative attention. That is because he can't keep up his bullshit forever. At what point will the Tesla board basically throw him out? Ed Niedermeyer hypothesizes that Tesla and anything Elon Musk touches will live and die by Elon Musk's personal involvement and reputation. It's too linked
to integrate
to
with
him,
the founder, right?
To stand on its own, and his success or failure will be the success or failure of those companies. And he's probably the most researched person on Earth when it comes to Elon Musk and Tesla, and so I'm going to go with him. On that.
Yeah. With technology, there's a big thing of like founder worship, which has kind of arisen in the last, 15 years, where the product.
And when I brought that up on Twitter, and Jack Dorsey called me an idiot and then resigned from Twitter a week later. Yep, I do. Yeah, you're right. No, it is. It's the founder worship is, and he ain't the founder of Tesla.
Right.
He sued to become the founder of Tesla later. But I think it's a good point. And I can't recommend Niedermeyer's book, Ludicrous, highly enough.
Yeah, it's a very good book.
It's amazing how that book hit #1 on the Amazon nonfiction list, like in April, like this year, even though it was out like 3 years ago.
It's getting a resurgence.
Yeah.
Oh, it came out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Came out in 2019. It's
came out,
very good.
It's a great book. You should buy Niedermeyer's book. He'll have to come back on the show very soon. I hit him up recently, and he said he's coming through LA and would like to to do the show in person, because the last time he was virtual.
Yeah.
I can't recommend that book highly enough. Let's see. Rory Dean wants to buy a 2019 Fiesta ST. Single guy, 32, no kids, 10-mile commute. He said, was your Fiesta ST a fun daily for short drives to work? Yes, it is. I would say a Fiesta ST is a fun daily for short drives to work.
Yeah, it's a great little commuter.
Yeah.
It's got space in it, and the suspension's soft enough to go over city streets, like you can rip around. Like
I wouldn't modify the suspension.
No.
I would leave the suspension stock. You can do the Cobb stage 1 or stage 2 and get a little more oomph out of it without affecting the reliability. And have at it, definitely. Turns out they don't make cars like that anymore.
I know.
It's very unfortunate.
It's a great car.
Hyundai's killing the Veloster N.
Yep.
Which is a shame. Ford is out of the hatchback game. The GTI is still the GTI, but I can't recommend a GTI to anybody right now, not with that infotainment.
Yeah.
It's not great.
It's worse than its predecessor. So it's the GTI, but worse.
Yeah, hatchbacks, like, buy them while they're around.
Yeah. Or buy a crossover and lower it. Same thing.
Did I show you about did we talk about the guy who got the Ford EcoSport and then did an overland build with it?
Oh yeah,
it was pretty cool actually.
Yeah, it was.
That's on the Fiesta platform.
Yeah,
so you could.
It looked tough.
It did. It looked kind of cool.
It did look cool.
Yeah. That's our show today. We're trying to get some guests in for next week. It's been very busy and we've struggled to book guests, but I'm glad you guys like the shows with just us. It's a good thing that we can keep those going. Also, I believe I'll be at Pebble Beach. If you're going up there, I'm going to be at the Quail at the Road and Track booth in Monterey. If anyone has any good party invites or anything to throw my way, something I should see this year at Pebble Beach, hit me up. That's going to be the weekend of August 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd is that week. Hopefully Donnie will finish the Ferrari. It's it looks not great in photos, but he's just waiting on the powder coating and the shocks. As soon as those come back, he has all the parts to finish it. And so diagnosing it and taking it apart is actually harder for him than putting it back together once he has everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he said it took him, those broken bolts, he said it took him like 2 days to get them out.
He said he used a plasma cutter, a cutting wheel, pry bar, and there was something else. But like
a welder or something.
I mean, those bolts and bushings looked
they were
fucked up.
Seized up.
They looked like they'd fallen from a different planet and hit the ground very hard.
Yeah, they were not great.
Yeah.
They were not great at all. So hopefully I'll have the 328 and be able to drive up there in that. Yeah, but that's our show. We'll see you next week. Bye.